Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, another year, another Call of Duty. I feel like I say this every year, but it's been a long time. This year's Call of Duty is being leaked by ModernWarzone.com, a prominent Call of Duty fan site that are hanging their entire reputation on this thing by saying all the following information doesn't need to be taken with a grain of salt. They literally say it's not officially confirmed, but you don't need to take it with a grain of salt. They're that sure that this is what's going to be going down. So 2021's Call of Duty is apparently called Call of Duty World War II: Vanguard. They're going back to a World War II setting. Now, the thing that's interesting here is that they note that an earlier leak pointed to it being set in the 1950s, which obviously World War II ended in September 1945. So then they sort of say that, well, the actual information when they drilled down on the earlier leak that they had was that parts of the game take place in the 50s. And so they sort of speculate on that in the article write-up, saying like, well, what if it's maybe like an alternate timeline? What if it's just cutscenes that take place in the 50s? Some sort of checking in with a soldier, perhaps like after World War II. Later on, they also speculate that in 1950 was the start of the Korean War, so maybe that's going to be something that factors in. But either way, I like the idea of Activision. It's also developed by Sledgehammer, revisiting the World War II time period and kind of taking that 2017 name and then just sticking a colon on and just going like, this is our World War II games. We have the Black Ops games, we have the Modern Warfare games, and just kind of going forward like that.
Yeah, it seems kind of safe, especially because it's Sledgehammer, who, if you remember, was supposed to make last year's Call of Duty, but that went completely tits up. Activision had to bring Treyarch in to salvage it. It was transformed into a Black Ops title. So, going back to something that, did well for them financially in the past, the World War II game, it's not really fondly remembered in the community now, but at the time, like, it was really well received, like returning to the boots on the ground, combat, returning to World War II in general. Like, a lot of people really vibe with it, and I think if they are able to do a follow-up like this, they'll be able to hopefully make this next game more than just a nostalgic throwback and make it, a proper next-gen World War II experience, which we obviously haven't had for a long, long time now.
I do have one question for you though. Like, I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's because, like, having grown up with the initial World War boots on the ground boom of the 2000s, I don't care. Like, I'm the Tommy Lee Jones meme. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, oh, it's an M1 Garand and it'll do the shing noise when you reload. Like, yeah, I've been there. Like, I remember Medal of Honor Frontline. I remember going through all that stuff. I remember we went back to it with Call of Duty World War II. Like, I'm that absolute nutter who actually quite liked Infinite Warfare. And so, like, I would take more craziness. Give me something that's at least something a little bit different. And I know that was them very much chasing Titanfall and Halo, because they were like, oh my god, Titanfall's going to drop. It's going to be the next big sci-fi thing. We'll get there first. The way that that's all played out is kind of weirdly hilarious. But that whole thing of like, we're just going to go back to World War II again, I don't know what you can do in a World War setting that hasn't been done before. And for me, one of the things that I love the most about how like tight Call of Duty is, it is the knee slides, it is the mounting guns on cover, which you could carry across. But I also quite like the stuff that Sledgehammer started to bring in Advanced Warfare, the whole like click the stick to boost around and like advanced mobility and things like that. But I don't know if that's the Titanfall fan in me speaking, because I'm kind of curious, what like the overall fan base reacts to it. Like, what's your thoughts on, I guess, going from like, Modern Warfare to Black Ops and then back to a World War II thing again?
I mean, for me personally, I'm totally fine if they have one sub-series that is entirely World War II focused, because like you said, we've, especially like, gamers as old as us, or even older, lived through the World War II boom and then some, and then even a brief resurgence, you know what I mean? So we've played World War II games over and over again, but I mean, I still think there are ways you can reinterpret that, or at least refine those kind of settings, those systems, those mechanics in a modern setting. And like you said, Call of Duty's gunplay is so tight, to the point where now I play so much Warzone that if I go to another shooter, it just doesn't feel the same. I'm just so used to the twitchiness and the I guess mix of weight with Modern Warfare in particular. So to bring that kind of set of mechanics over to a World War setting and to just indulge in it once more, like I'm here for that. I also think there should be a variety in settings. Like, I wouldn't mind, again, going back to the future and incorporating those double jumps, those jetpacks again, as long as it doesn't completely take over the franchise's entire identity like it did in the early 2010s. I think there's scope where you have these three developers, more really, because you have a bunch of support studios helping out in each game. Like, you should diversify your settings, diversify your characters, diversify what each one brings to the table, so they're not all just bringing variations on the same flavor. And for me, even though it might sound like it flies in the face of everything I've just said, World War II now feels fresh because we haven't had a series in the blockbuster space at least that's gone back to that time period to kind of reinterpret those older games and kind of deliver something new in that space. It's been so long.
It is true. I mean, another part of the leak is that the Warzone Battle Royale thing will be seeing its own sort of World War II addition to that map. So I guess that's a whole other thing to sort of talk about. But I kind of wonder, that whole thing of how does Call of Duty go forward? Well, it's kind of by embracing every one of their strands at once, and they just sort of rotate through them. Because they did have that weird deviation into the future stuff. Like we mentioned, Infinite Warfare, which obviously went down horribly. And I think that since then, around about that time was when the conversations happened around the Call of Duty movie, which I don't even know if that's even happening anymore. But one of the super early conversations around that was that they would have this multiple time period style approach. That they could potentially do a World War II movie, Call of Duty World War II, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, or whatever, and sync them up later, have characters that are people's different bloodlines across different games and things like that. I like that idea, but it's just that wider idea of the brand of Call of Duty being able to satisfy multiple time periods at once. I think for me, because Modern Warfare is so stellar, like the one from, not obviously Black Ops, the one just before it, that's the one that I keep going back to over and over and over again. And I'm curious how the weapon makeup, the loadout, stuff like that, can you even get close to, would a super fast World War II game even feel right at this point? Or do they have to go make a whole new set of mechanics that somehow satisfy the Twitch crowd, Twitch reaction style crowd, but also have something that is true to the time period? I just don't know if that's even a thing.
Well, that's the thing. If it seems like this is 100% happening. Like the writer said, they're putting their hat on it. And we've had a bunch of leaks previously that seem to point towards this direction as well. And I think if they're going to do it, I do want it to be more than just a nostalgia fest, because that's what World War II was to me anyway. It felt like a throwback, almost to a fault, where it wasn't bringing too much new to the table. I liked some of the stuff it did in multiplayer with the war game mode, which was a little bit bigger, but even that got overshadowed by Ground War and the latest Modern Warfare. So it's kind of like, if they're going to do it, I would like it to be more than just a throwback, a safe kind of bet. I'd want them to try and do something different, innovate in a few areas, and bring over the gunplay from Modern Warfare 2019 or whatever it was, and kind of adapt that to a World War setting. Because you mentioned Warzone there. For me, I would fully take a Call of Duty World War II themed Warzone map with World War II themed weapons. I think that would be great. But who knows if they'll do it.
If they did honestly, my reference point, the high point, is Medal of Honor Frontline, which I imagine being this incredible thing. But whenever you go back to Frontline, it's like there's 3 soldiers on the entire beach. Yeah. It's just that in your mind, it was this whole thing, which obviously COD World War II capitalized on. But if they do a World War II style battle royale and have platoons of troops deploying off the troop carriers, arriving from the sea, other people coming in by air and things like that. Maybe there's a way to do that feels fresh and feels modern, but does connote that is based in an older sort of context. Hopefully without being too weirdly disrespectful of that, making it just some crazy ball pool, pit style play space. But I would take something like that. I guess as a massive Warzone fan, what's the things that draw you to Warzone? What can they bring across that would actually make it work?
I just kind of want to see, it sounds stupid because, Warzone now isn't at all quote-unquote gritty because you've got guns that literally transform into bats in the game right now. But there's something about the kind
of all the Gulag stuff too.
Yeah, the Gulag stuff. There's something about the density and kind of the weightiness of the combat that I think works really well. You're in these kind of urban areas, you're moving out to the more rural areas, and you've got skyscrapers, you've got this verticality and this density to the map that I would love to see brought over to kind of this World War II setting where you still have this weightiness, you have this reliance on squads, and you've got kind of the feeling that the guns that you are holding are just incredibly dangerous. I think Modern Warfare sells that really well. Each one kicks like a mule, you know what I mean? It sounds loud. It's this really violent thing. And I think if you take that intensity is the word I'm looking for, not grittiness. If you take that intensity and take it over to a World War II setting, I think it would, theoretically work really well.
There's also something in being more retrograde in regards to weapon balancing, making it so that it's a really big deal if someone picks up a rifle. It's a really big deal if someone manages to get their hands on a specific grenade or something, especially in the top 10. I think this probably is. One of my dream ideas for an old school game would be something where the reload time actually takes a long time and it's timing based, and you've just got 3 dudes all looking at each other with their rifles trying to pack the musket in to try and then finally getting the shot off and winning the fight or whatever. whatever. I like the idea of like, you know, diving into something like that. There's a few games that have done stuff like that, but very rarely like actually in an enjoyable, fun way. So I'd be curious about stuff like that. But yeah, either way, Call of Duty for 2021 seems to be Call of Duty World War II Vanguard. So let us know what you think down in the comments below, and which time period for Call of Duty is your favorite. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye.